You've only gone and downloaded a MultipleSources.net podcast. For more episodes of this show and a bunch of other content covering everything from NBA teams to professional wrestling, visit MultipleSources.net. MultipleSources.net. But wait! Act now and you too could join MultipleSources.net. Yeah, we're looking for people to do their own podcasts about different NBA teams. We're looking for blog authors, video highlight creators, basically anything you can think of to write about sports. You can kind of write or create to your heart's content. So if you want to help us and join this up-and-coming independent blog and podcast network monster, go to multiplesources.net. I'll stick something in the sidebar that says join us or something equally unfunny, so go and click on that. Join us.
Are you ready?
Oh, yeah.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to It's Always Sunny in Phoenix, a weekly podcast where we keep you up to date on everything Phoenix Suns basketball. Today, we are going to do our lottery mock draft and try to piece out where some players will fall in the draft this coming Thursday. So, I'm Charlie, and I have Mitch and David here with me. What's up, guys?
Boo! Oh wait, I'm sorry. I'm jumping the gun a little bit on that. Sorry about that, Commissioner Chuck.
I haven't started
We'll
the clock
get there.
yet.
Yeah,
Sorry.
we'll get there.
Are
we doing 10 minutes a pick on this one too?
15 minutes. We gotta add the suspense.
Yes.
I have the time if you guys do. All right. Well, if it's going to take this long, we better get started right away. All right. So we're just going to do the lottery. So we'll go through each team and then make our pick, and then we'll explain why we made that decision. And we did this all over the last couple days. So there was some good conversation and trying to figure out who fits best where. So let's get started with the 76ers and their first pick. And Ben Simmons is the obvious answer here. What do you guys think about Simmons on the Sixers?
I mean, he's the only answer in my opinion. I know that there was that dumb article about them considering Murray because whatever, who knows, that guy sucks at writing. But then there was there's talk always that they might pick Brandon Ingram. It's Simmons. This is the reason why they tanked, to have the possibility of getting a once-in-a-generation star. And while everyone wants to paint Ben Simmons as the next LeBron James, he's probably closer to the next Blake Griffin, just slightly less athletic, in my opinion. So, and that's still worth a number one overall pick. So I think Ben Simmons is the obvious answer, and they'll end up moving someone else.
Yeah, and the other day I went back and I decided I wanted to look at a mock draft from a while ago, and this one was from late May, and someone, I forget where it was, but someone said the Sixers will take Brandon Ingram first, and I just closed the tab. I was like, this is stupid. They're taking Ben Simmons. There's no other choice.
Absolutely. And I bet the 76ers are pretty glad that a center isn't at the top of the big board this year, because I'd assume they'd take him.
I mean, he's a power forward, so he's close enough to a center.
Yeah. The Sixers are really lucking out this year when it comes to that.
They still have Ish Smith, too, don't they?
They have Ish Smith, so he is a point guard.
They're set for the guards.
That's all you need. But hey, props to Ish. Played some pretty solid ball last year.
He did.
He had a huge role, but he good
killed
for him.
us every time he played us. So every single time.
Oh, yeah. Okay, so pretty unanimous Simmons there. So we'll move on to the second pick. The Los Angeles Lakers select Brandon Ingram out of Duke. That's a pretty obvious one there as well. Mitch, what do you think about Ingram?
I think this is pretty much the same thing with Simmons. The Lakers aren't going to take anyone else. I haven't even heard anything about them considering anyone else. So, yeah, Ingram's a great player, and give him a couple years, and he's going to be even better.
Yeah, there are some worries about his frame. He's really thin. I think he was listed at like 170, and supposedly he's like at 190 now or something like that. Something dumb. But he's super thin. That's a little nerve-wracking. But even if he isn't the next Durant, because, spoiler alert, he's not going to be. He can probably be a Nick Batum type of player and more of a spot-up shooter, can ball handle a bit, which is fine when they're pairing him up alongside Julius Randle and D'Angelo Russell and Clarkson. There's enough other guys that can handle the ball and need the ball in their hands that if he's just a 3-and-D guy, I think that's worth the number 2 overall pick.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Ingram works. He's going to be a really great fit for the Lakers. The way their roster's set up right now, they're solid at both guard spots. Then they have Randall and Nance Jr. at the power forward.
Woo.
Center's a little weak still, but
They have Sacre,
They have
You're right,
the
you're
GOAT
right.
Bobby Sacre.
the GOAT.
But if they give
Can't-
Hassan
can't-
Whiteside a max and convince him to go there, all of a sudden that could be a possible playoff team.
Yeah, the Lakers are getting the pieces together quickly.
absolutely. And I've always been saying,
No one should be shocked.
yeah, right. I've wanted to see the Suns and Lakers sort of come back to greatness, get back in those playoffs, and kind of revive the rivalry that we think we have. The Lakers don't have this rivalry with us like we do with them, but, I'd like to see it.
They hated Raja
I
Bell.
would too.
That's close enough to a rivalry.
Never forget.
I loved Raja Bell.
Okay, so these top 2 picks were pretty obvious, and now we're moving into some uncharted territory. This is where the discussion got pretty heavy while we were doing this. So we'll just go with the Boston Celtics with the 3rd pick select Marquise Chris. David, what do you think?
Yeah, this one was tough. I personally think Chris is the best fit for Boston with what they're trying to do right now. With being able to be in the playoffs and getting a lottery pick. Their priority is getting better, but they aren't necessarily looking to get better in a couple of years. They should want to get better now, and Chris is that guy that's going to be an immediate impact. There are a couple of things that he's questionable about, whether it be, if he can really grow much more than what he is right now. I think he has a little bit of awareness issues with his defender, too, as well. Ben did the article on that on the site, so you can check that out. He basically sums up all of our opinions together, so check that out. But I think that as a guy that has a jump shot, can play defense, even if he's as good as he'll ever be right now, that's still pretty good and a pretty good fit for the Celtics.
Yeah, the Celtics, I would say, are in win now mode, and he helps them with that, and they need to get more athletic in their front court, and he gives them that. So I think it's a good fit. I mean, I know they're still interested in Bender, too, but I think it's just the win now mentality.
Yeah, not much else to say other than that athleticism that he brings will really help that Boston front court. No offense to Kelly Olynyk or Jared Sullinger.
Right.
They're not
the
athletic.
quickest dudes on the
I mean,
court.
it's-
okay, yeah, they're just flat out not athletic. So,
But having someone like Chris there is going to help those guys to open up the floor a bit for them, and they can spot up a little more. I think he would be a good fit.
absolutely. So now let's move on to that number 4 pick, where our Phoenix Suns pick, and we're going with Dragon Bender at this one. And we all just watched a pretty neat video about Bender today, just a little look inside of his life. And man, I really like this guy a lot more now that I saw that video. He just seems like a stand-up guy, dedicated to his craft, and he's just going to get better and better. And being his size with that athleticism, I'm excited to see him in a Suns uniform, hopefully. What do you guys think?
Yeah, so the video was a Sports Illustrated video, and I actually went to just find out where exactly Bender is from. I just searched his name, and the video is the first thing that comes up that's not news. So if you want to watch that, I highly recommend it. It gives a great look into his life. And I was very unsure about what to think about him until seeing that video. Now I think, this kid already can shoot. He's over 7 feet tall. He's only going to get better, and he's a hard worker and he's really dedicated. Everyone makes the very easy comparison to Kristaps Porzingis, but the comparison that's made in this video is to Tony Kukoc, and the video shows some like back-to-back highlights of the two, and they're very similar, and that's exciting. And seeing a little bit more about this kid's life really got me excited, and I hope we can land him.
Yeah, I did the profile on Bender. He can already make a jump shot. He has expanded his range out to 3. He's just going to get better at that. He's super young. He's already a pretty darn good perimeter defender. The main question is how much better he can get in the post when it comes to defense. Because he's so thin, he can't really hold his ground, so he gets bullied really easily. But his perimeter defense is already pretty darn good. His jump shot's good. He can finish if he can't really finish in contact, but he can finish. That'll come with weight and all that kind of stuff. I mean, dude's super thin, but I think he's the best choice there, and if he doesn't get picked by the Celtics, I don't see him dropping past us.
Right.
Yeah, and he's just about 18 and a half years old right now, so out of all the guys in this lottery, he's the youngest. So if we take a chance on him, I don't know if I'd expect much this first season here.
It's
but
going to take a couple years.
Like I said, he's only 18. Right, so look for him.
That's okay.
20 years old, 21 years old, plus 20 to 30 pounds. Be a whole new guy out there.
And so he can come over this year, right?
Yeah, he's got a $1.5 million buyout, I believe. So the Suns can cover half of it, and then he would have to cover the rest of it with checks, basically, once he was signed.
Okay.
But he could do it, I think, anytime during the year. I don't think he has to have the money up front right away. I think he can do it at any time during the year.
Okay. Yeah, that's good, because personally, I would like to get someone who could play right away. And so that's encouraging that he could do that.
Yeah, I'd like to see a guy step right in too, but if we're not taking if Chris is off the board by then, I don't know if we'd be too excited about anyone else at number 4 if we're looking for right now production.
I honestly think that if the Celtics don't take Bender, it doesn't matter who they pick and who's on the board. I think we go Bender. I just don't see there really being a debate there.
No.
We are all in agreement there. So let's move on to the number 5 pick. The Minnesota Timberwolves select Chris Dunn out of Providence, the 6'4" point guard. Mitch, what are your thoughts on Dunn?
That's a good fit. The T-Wolves are going to be good. Seriously, they're going to be so good. And getting Dunn is going to be really great for them. He's going to be a nice facilitator. The question that comes up for me is what would drafting Dunn do with the Ricky Rubio situation?
If Rubio is as unhappy as it sounds like he is, if the Timberwolves were to miss the playoffs again this next year, Dunn would just be a great insurance for them at that point guard. And having a little more depth there, they wouldn't have to have Levine play the point at all, probably, and I think that'd be very beneficial to him.
Yeah, agreed.
I agree.
I could really see them wanting to move on from Rubio. I think that they'll probably dangle him in trade talks. I know they've been trying to get rid of Pack. Just both those guys have huge cap hits and don't fit in really with the long-term plans. Ricky's still relatively young, but he has absolutely no outside shot or jump shot in general, even from mid-range. So he can pass and he makes that team better. But I think if you're the Wolves, you want to look at going for someone that can grow with all your other guys. And Chris Dunn's the best point guard in the draft. He can defend 1 through 3. Well, not all the way 3, but some 3s. He's going to be a really good defender. He's going to be a decent spot-up shooter and creator, I believe. It's going to take a little bit of time, but, I mean, when you have Wiggins and Levine and Gorgie Dang and Cat all built around that, then putting in Dunn, he doesn't have to be a 1 option or even a 2 option. So
And you know Thibodeau is jumping all over the best defensive point guard in the draft. if
Oh,
it's
no
there.
doubt.
Probably maybe one of the best defenders in the whole draft.
Yeah, there's no question about that. Tibbs is there, and he's going to want basically all young guys that can all play defense and swarm like nothing else.
Yeah. The thing with this pick is it might not even be the Timberwolves pick because of all this talk about Jimmy Butler going over there. So that'll be interesting to see.
Yeah, that could really change some things up. That'd be pretty crazy. Okay, so quick recap. Top 5 picks. 76ers take Simmons. Lakers take Ingram. Celtics take Chris. The Suns take Bender. And the Wolves with Dunn. So let's move on to that number 6 pick. The New Orleans Pelicans select Jamal Murray, the combo guard out of Kentucky. 6'5", 200 pounds. Pretty interesting prospect. What do you guys think about him?
This was a really tough decision for us. I personally like Buddy a lot, obviously. You guys know that already.
Oh,
Yeah,
you do?
he should go number 1. But I really like Buddy, and I would love to see him play next to Anthony Davis and be like a 2 or 3 option and all of that. But Murray technically has more upside. He's going to be a guy that is going to be able to shoot, can probably be a Kevin Martin type player. I think that he's young and he can grow with Anthony Davis a little bit better. I know that Buddy and Davis are around the same age right now, I think. So, or like a year off, I think. I think Davis is like 24 and Buddy's going to be 23 or something like that, or maybe it's 25 and 24 or something. I don't remember. Anyways, it's something like that. They're pretty close in age, but I think Murray they'll end up going Murray in this scenario.
I think what you said about upside is why we picked Murray in general, just because he has a bit more potential. And I just remember us saying that Buddy could end up just being a spot-up shooter, and Murray has the potential to be more than that.
Yeah, I personally think that Buddy can either keep on improving and end up being a James Harden type of player, or the worst case scenario is he ends up being like a JJ Redick, which isn't terrible, like at all, but Murray has the possibility to be better, so I think you have to go with that.
Right.
Yeah, JJ Redick would be a pretty high floor for a guy.
I know. I think that I have some really weird comparisons for guys, but I think they're not too terrible.
Yeah, if you're comparing guys that are different races, that's just
I
crazy.
know. I should probably pick who's a spot up shooter guy that is not white. I don't know. Anyways. I was gonna go something, but we just need to skip over that and go to the next pick.
Yeah, just edit that out, and then we're good.
Nope, no, we don't do that.
We leave it.
We leave our screw.
We're on a slippery slope.
Yeah. Details.
And one more thing about the Pels, they definitely need help at the guard, no matter if it's the 1 or 2. I think Gordon's a free agent this year. I believe Norris Cole is a free agent this year. And then Drew Holiday is going to be a free agent next year.
Yeah, I believe him and Tyreek are free agents next year, I believe.
Yeah, so a guy that could fill the...
Tim Frazier.
Tim Frazier.
Forgot Tim. Sorry.
Yeah, so just a guy with some versatility would definitely be beneficial to the Pelicans with this pick.
And he would definitely play pretty darn good, I think, alongside Drew Holiday.
Yeah.
Yeah, that'd definitely work out. All right, let's move on to the 7th pick. The Denver Nuggets select Jaylen Brown, the 6'7" small forward out of Cal. A little bit of a drop for Jaylen Brown from what we've been talking about in the past. We thought of him as more of a top 5 guy, but as things have been moving along, some of these guards and like Marquise Chris have been jumping up the boards a little bit. So, David, what are your thoughts of Jaylen Brown on the Nuggets?
So, in my opinion, if Celtics pick Bender, I think we go Jaylen Brown as the Suns. I really like Jaylen Brown, but putting him on the Denver Nuggets, they got Will the Thrill. They've got Emmanuel Mudiay. Those are some athletic guys. They've got Nikola Jokic.
Kenneth Faried.
Jokic is?
Jokic.
They've got Kenneth Faried.
Yep.
That's all of a sudden becomes another like just super athletic Denver team. And I think Denver at its best is when they're super athletic and they can take advantage of being at such a high altitude. And I really think he fits really well with that team. I think he can fit with almost any team pretty well, but especially that Denver team. And they would have no spacing, but it'd be fun.
Yeah, I think he's a good fit in Denver too, but I would not be disappointed if we ended up getting him at 4 even. Yeah, if pretty much anyone we get at 4, I'm going to be happy with, unless we really stretch. But any of the guys we've discussed, Jaylen Brown, Marquise Chris, Bender, like any of those guys, I'll be happy with that if we can get them at 4.
Just maybe not a guard if we're keeping everybody around. Right. Maybe not a guard.
Maybe not a guard, but of the big men we've discussed.
I was gonna say, Mitch, if we picked another guard, I would probably not be happy.
No, okay.
Unless it were Buddy.
Of any of the big men we've discussed, I'd be happy with. But Brown is a great fit in Denver, and like you said, they're the best when they're that super athletic team. So. Yeah, that'd be fun basketball to watch for sure.
Right, and then Gallinari on the Nuggets has been having some trouble staying healthy, but he is a solid player. So either way, if you could definitely see Brown coming off the bench for him, and if Gallo's hurt, definitely throw him in the starting lineup. He'd be solid there right away. And I believe
they could go small ball.
They can play together. As the first
Gallinari
thing
play small ball 4. Fareed play small ball 5, and that fixes the spacing a little bit. So that would be an interesting.
They could go Jokic too, and still keep him at the 5.
They could go Jokic,
but then have Gallo, Brown, Will the Thrill, and Mudiay, and not have a bad lineup.
Mudiay. And man, Mudiay is good. I was impressed with Mudiay.
I am not a fan of his efficiency at all.
That's
his
the only
jump
thing
shot is super broken.
He'll get there though. I was impressed with him.
Maybe.
Hopefully. This feels weird to say, but I'm becoming very nervous of the Denver Nuggets.
It is weird to say. The Nuggets are my second team, and they've been bad pretty much since Carmelo left and those days. So it's weird to say the Nuggets are going to be good.
There was that one Iggy season, so
yeah.
Oh yeah.
That's right. I kind of blocked that out of my mind because he called out Denver fans for how bad they are, and I was not happy with that.
Saying he didn't want to be there is a little bit of an understatement, I think.
Yeah, I would agree with you there. They did make the playoffs, and I remember they played the Warriors in the first round that year. I think that was 2013.
That was the big deal, is that supposedly Iggy went and told Mark Jackson what was going on because the Nuggets were gonna target Curry's ankles or something. So
this isn't football. Okay, let's hop into the number 8 pick, and we have the Sacramento Kings selecting Buddy Hield. And I know David wants to talk about Buddy Hield for a few minutes here, so take it away.
Buddy! I love Buddy. I love Buddy so much. I do not like the idea of him going to Sacramento at all. I am not a Kings fan whatsoever. I hate the idea of him going to such a toxic organization. Unfortunately, that's how it is. But with the rest of the top 7 off the board and him being in the top 8 players, in my opinion, even if I think that he's better and he should possibly be picked at New Orleans over Murray, I know my better judgment says that he is an older player. He's going to be 23. And this adds to the tradition of Sacramento having a early mid lottery pick and choosing a shooting guard like they did with Sauce Boss and Ben McLemore. So That's all I have to say without feeling sad. So go on and have someone else talk.
Okay, so first off, I like the Kings' new logos. I think they're pretty cool.
Pretty good.
But Buddy, I think he's just the best player available at that spot. And so that's what the Kings are going to have to go with. That's pretty much it.
I agree. And I really hope Heel doesn't turn into a Ben McLemore. I don't know why I've had that thought in my head, but I really think Buddy will outperform him as a professional.
I would not be worried about him being Ben McLemore. But I'm also not the person to ask about that, so never mind.
Yeah, let's not bring down David's mood for the rest of this draft, and
Move
just
on.
move on to that number 9 pick. So the number 9 pick, the Toronto Raptors select
Yes.
Jakob Poeltl, the big man out of Utah.
Jakob.
Oh, Jakob Poeltl. What a name.
It's a great name.
It's something.
So since you corrected me, Mitch, take it
Sorry.
away.
So actually, I remember when I was doing some of my college writing, Gonzaga played Utah in the tournament, and Poeltl had a really bad game. And I said that he retreated into his Poeltl shell
Oh,
or
my
something like
goodness.
that. So I will probably continue using that. But actually, Poeltl is a good player. We had some discussion on this, on if the Raptors should go with him or go with Ellenson, or even Sabonis was kind of in the mix, because we know that Toronto's pretty high on him. Maybe not at 9, but we know Toronto's high on Sabonis. But in the end, we decided on Poeltl. It's a position of need, and he is a good player. He is only a sophomore. I had thought he was older, so he's got some room for growth. He's 20 years old, and he's already got some great skills down low, and he's got room to improve.
Yeah, this was a tough decision we were basically jumping between Poeltl and Ellenson. As we kind of go on, we'll talk about that a little bit more. But Poeltl is good. There's no way Toronto is going to be re-signing Biyombo unless he takes a huge pay cut, because they have too many other guys that they have to re-sign. Well, not too many other guys, but they have to re-sign DeMar DeRozan and all that.
That's going to be tough.
So I think Poeltl is just the better choice. He is a center. He can probably play in a bigger lineup with Valanciunas, because both those guys can hit jump shots, I believe. So they won't have too bad a spacing. Those lineups would probably have to have DeMar DeRozan off the court, though. I would think. I think you'd have to run something like Corey Joseph, Kyle Lowry, DeMar Carroll, Poeltl, and Valanciunas in that lineup. But I mean, he technically could do that. So this was a tough choice, but I think Poeltl is BPA at this spot, and I think that he would fit pretty darn well.
Yeah.
Right, and that would be a very intimidating twin tower lineup right there, with JV and Poeltl. Those are two big dogs.
Hopefully, it would be more efficient than our twin tower lineup. Probably. It probably would.
It might not be.
I don't know. I think
You never know.
I think they have a little bit more potential than the veteran Tyson Chandler.
Hey!
Alex
Don't be
Len.
talking smack on Tyson.
I like Tyson.
So do
Chandler.
I.
I was happy when we signed him.
He needs to work on leg day, but other than that,
I like Tyson Chandler, but I don't like that contract much. That's my only gripe.
I'm not crazy about his nose ring either.
Yeah, that's
I
pretty
forget
weak.
every
That's
single
pretty
time
weak.
until someone mentions that he has a nose ring. Because I think I just block it out of my memory. So
Yeah.
Just
Probably
a
good.
dude out of Compton, California with a nose ring. Just it's weird. All right, enough
Anyways.
of that. Let's move on. Let's move on to the number 10 pick, the Milwaukee Bucks, and forgive me if I slaughter this. We'll say they pick Skal Labissiere. Did I hit it?
I think so.
Got it.
I think so.
Got it, Chuck.
Makes me feel good. So Skal, just another one of those long, kind of freak of nature athletes, would really fit well on the Bucks. What do you think, David?
Yeah, I am very much behind this pick. I wish there was some sort of way that Skal would drop to us at 13. It is not happening whatsoever. And I really like his fit on the Bucks. He's another long dude. He has more potential. Henson isn't going to be any better than he is right now, in my opinion. Which he's a shot blocker and pretty good at it, but he's not going to have the potential to be more on offense. Skal has the ability to possibly be a Serge Ibaka type of player, where he can play power forward or center, but he would probably play center in this Bucks lineup, and have the ability to stretch the floor with a three-point shot, which is something the Bucks need really bad, and would be a way better fit than someone like Greg Monroe at the center's position because of his athleticism and his shot blocking potential. So I'm really high on this pick. I really like that young Bucks team, and I think Skal would be a great fit.
Them young Bucks.
Young Bucks?
Yep, they're another team like Minnesota that I think is going to be really good soon.
Well, when you have someone like Giannis, come on.
Yeah, right. Well, and I made this joke already to you guys, but to the listeners, I'm not sure if the Bucks are going to want to do the double point guard with Skal and Giannis. But anyway, now that that's out of the way, I do think
Twin Tower point guards. That'd be new.
Yeah, I think he's a good fit for all the reasons David said. It's just adding more athleticism to a team that already has one of the most freakish athletes in the league. It would be exciting, definitely. And yeah, like I said, the Bucks are another one of those up and coming teams that are going to be really good.
Yeah, I think.
And
go ahead. Sorry, I'll have something to say after you.
Okay, and one more thing: the Bucks with Jabari Parker. You almost forget about Jabari.
Yeah.
And since he's come back, oh yeah, some don't, but he kind of gets lost in thought. With maybe I can say that I forget about him sometimes. But
I forget about him sometimes too.
Okay, good. It's not just me.
No.
So since he's come back from that injury, which happened in Phoenix, I believe.
Yep.
His athleticism is back, and he was in that Rising Stars game, I believe is what they're calling it nowadays. He was throwing down some serious dunks, and just there's another really athletic guy on that team, and all that size and athleticism. No other team in the league has anything like that, and Skal would be a great addition.
Yeah, first off, I just have to say on that Jabari thing, Jabari's one of the guys that I really like, so I did not forget him, and his highlight dunks are fantastic this year. I still am under the opinion that he would have been the Rookie of the Year last year had he not gotten injured. But real quick, you could also look at the Bucks looking at a guard on the table, someone like Baldwin, or Wade Baldwin is his name, I think. Yeah, Wade Baldwin.
Yeah. Yep. The fourth.
Wade Baldwin the fourth. Don't want to mix him up with Gary Payton the second, though. So, or junior. Wade Baldwin, you could look at. He's going to be a defensive point guard who has really good vision. You could look at him, and he would probably fit pretty well in the Bucks. But I think if Scala's there, then they go him. So just putting that out there.
Yeah.
Yep, I've seen Baldwin mocked to the Bucks in a couple mock drafts, I believe. All right, but let's move on to the 11th pick. The Orlando Magic select Henry Ellenson, the power forward out of Marquette. 6'11", 240, freshman. And we had quite a bit of discussion on this pick here. And the Magic could use some depth in about every position, but we liked Ellenson here. What do you think, Mitch?
Yeah, this was hard for me because I just don't know the Magic that well. I don't really follow them as closely as a lot of other teams, but the one thing that we had mentioned was that they don't have Tobias Harris anymore. So Ellenson could be a guy who kind of fills that role a little bit. But yeah, the more I learn about him and the more I look at it, the more I think that it could be a good fit.
Yeah, most mocks have Scal dropping to the Magic and then picking him up. And ours, of course, we have him going to Milwaukee because there are some other ones where Ellenson gets picked by the Raptors. We think Pirtle should go there. So, as you've been listening, I don't know why I just went over all that. But anyways, I think all of us have some concerns about Ellenson, about athleticism and speed and all that kind of stuff. So there's that. If the Magic had any sort of power forward depth whatsoever, we probably would have chosen someone else over Ellenson, but they just don't. They have absolutely like no big man depth. They need a guy to be able to play backup minutes to Aaron Gordon or Vucevic. So I think Ellenson is that guy.
Are you talking smack about Dwayne Dedmon?
You know, I would never talk smack about Dwayne Dedmon, but
Good call.
yeah, well, I'm just gonna leave that there.
just wait until it's 5 years later and we can still pull like Dwayne Dedmon and Tim Frazier out. That's gonna be great.
Oh, yeah.
You know, Tim Frazier, if you keep on talking smack about him, you say his name 3 times in the mirror, he'll show up.
Ooh, spooky.
I'm not gonna try it.
I wouldn't recommend it.
You don't want that coming to you.
But what?
We've already said it twice. Jeez, we better slow down.
Okay, so my thoughts on Ellison. He's pretty much the exact opposite of the power forward they have in Aaron Gordon right now. So I like the idea of having opposite guys that you can put out at different times. Mm-hmm. And Ellenson could also, he's projected to be able to play the center spot too. And as weak as they are at those bigs, it makes a lot of sense. And the one gripe I have about Ellenson, I wrote a prospect article about him, and I watched quite a bit of tape from his freshman year at Marquette. And I did not see one dunk from him. Standing at 6'11", you'd think he'd throw it down once in a while, but it seems like he does all of his work under the rim. He does have some nice touch while he's under there, and he can take some contact, but not much. I mean, no tip-in dunks or anything. He'll tap some back in, but nothing with authority down there. You'd like to see a big dog like that play with a little more fire.
And that's interesting too, because you see that from European guys a lot, not dunking and being more into the finesse. But Ellenson is American, and he can dunk. He's 6'11". But
right.
Yeah, I think that's an interesting
Unless
point.
he literally can't jump.
He has a 9 foot. I'm just making this up, but he has a 9'9" standing reach, and he can't.
He has a
dunk.
9'9" standing reach, and his vertical is half an inch.
He gets mighty close.
He gets caught on a piece of paper on the floor.
The line painted on the floor.
The line,
block.
yeah.
He can't get over the block. Okay, so that gets us through pick 11, and then with the 12th pick, the Utah Jazz select Wade Baldwin, the 4th, out of Vanderbilt, the point guard. 6'4", 200 pounds, great size for a point guard nowadays. And the Jazz, their backcourt's a little shaky. Well, the point guard position is a little shaky. They're pretty solid at shooting guard with Hood and Burks with the S. Burks with the S.
So
I don't know who I'm
It
talking
is.
about half the time, so
Burke. One of them.
TV. Or wait, no, one of them's Alec.
There you
Never
go.
mind.
Alec.
I don't know what's going on. I'm done. Wrap it up, boys. Wrap
No,
it up.
you're not done talking because you got to talk about Baldwin a little bit here.
Yes.
Okay, so I have actually watched a little bit of Baldwin tape. I like him. I think he's going to be pretty good. He's a step down from guys like the top 10 guards, or the guys in the top 10 that are guards. Otherwise, we would have put him in there, I guess. I don't know. That was dumb to say. But anyways, he's going to be, I think, a pretty decent defender at the point guard position. He has some length. He's got size going for him, and I really like his court vision. He's really aware of everything that's going on. I think that's something that you really can't teach. So you always want that at a point guard. That's why everyone last year complained about D'Angelo Russell having a slow first step and not a whole lot of athleticism and stuff. But when you looked at his court vision, it was just out of nowhere, and that's how you knew that he was the better point guard over Moutier. I think Baldwin has great court vision, and he has had some pretty flashy passes when you look at some of his mixtapes and stuff. So I like him. As I said, I talked about him possibly getting picked by the Bucks, but I think that he would be a pretty good fit and some pretty good insurance for Dante Exum in Utah.
Yeah, that's actually what I was just about to say, the insurance for Exum. He's a guy that the Jazz like, and he could be a good player, but he's had so many injuries and trouble staying healthy, and that's unfortunate to see, but I think going point guard for the Jazz would make sense.
Yep, totally agree with that. So let's move on to the 13th pick, where the Suns are back on the clock. And for this one, we have the Suns picking Deontay Davis, the 6'10 freshman out of Michigan State. We need to fill that power forward role, even if we do end up drafting a guy like Bender or Chris with that 4 pick. Just a little more insurance and give the guy a little time to grow as a pro before we throw him in there. I think he'd be great in this situation. What do you guys think?
I agree with that. I think give him some time. If he has to spend a little time on the bench, that's fine. Looking at him, he's a much different player than Bender. So it would be cool to take both him and Bender if we have the opportunity, even though they play the same position technically. But yeah, much different, strong guy. Played for Tom Izzo at Michigan State, so he's been coached up well, and he's gonna have have that slight edge from having a great coach.
Yeah, and Deontay Davis is another project player. I know that we've talked about before the Suns trying to pick a guy that's a little bit more of a sure thing at 13, and that could still be the thing, but I think that even if we go Bender and Davis is available, I think he is the choice. He has a lot of potential, especially on the defensive end. So I think that when it comes to those second-tier power forwards that are kind of in the teens to mid-late lottery, kind of that area, I think that if you want offense, you go Ellenson. If you want someone that's going to be a pretty good defender, you go Deontay Davis. That's just my opinion as those second-tier power forwards. So I think he's going to be pretty good. He's going to be a little bit of a project, but I like the pick. I like it a lot.
Who would you compare him to in the league?
Well, I believe that Ben also did the Deontay Davis one, correct?
He did, yeah. And it was really good.
Yeah, he's, from what I remember watching what I did watch, that was a great sentence. Anyways, just super athletic shot blocker. Isn't he doesn't really have any offensive game besides lobs, I think.
That was one thing that people were saying, that so far he has
a pretty limited offensive range from what I remember. Could be like a Kenneth Faried type, but with more
that's what I
more
was
shot
just gonna
blocking
say.
potential. I mean, that's kind of what I would think.
I like
he doesn't have the range to be someone like an Ibaka. He doesn't have really the game to be someone like an Ibaka either. I'm trying to think of good shot blocking fours, and I mean there really isn't any. So I'd probably say, Kenneth Faried with better shot blocking Kenneth Faried.
Yeah, one thing with those kind of guys, two of the most exciting plays in basketball are big-time blocks and dunks. And I feel like the Suns haven't had a guy who brings that energy with those plays for a little bit. And, Bledsoe will have – I mean, it's always impressive to see a 6'1 guy with the putback dunk from the free throw line. But
Yeah.
without Bled this past year, we were kind of missing that. But having a guy who can really be a spark, especially off the bench, is nice for a team.
Miss you, Gerald Green.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, Deontay Davis, I think if we picked Bender and him and Bender panned out, which those are two guys that are pretty darn athletic, especially, Bender's really athletic and Deontay Davis is really good hops. And maybe sometimes you need an energy guy that's going to get blocks, that's going to catch lobs. He doesn't have to start, especially like if we do Bender and him and Bender pans out, then we have Bender and we can bring him to start, and you can go out with a smaller lineup with Bender at the 5 if Bender can bulk up, and then you have a lot more athleticism if you add both of those guys. So I think that really is able to fix that problem of lacking athleticism in our lineups.
Totally. So let's move on to the number 14 pick, the last pick of the lottery. So that's the Chicago Bulls, and time to butcher another name. We're going to say Timothy Luwawu.
I think that was good, so that's what I would have called him.
Yeah. That's
I get a passing grade there. That's good enough for
passed,
me.
The names with a A+ this pod.
Except for Pirtle.
Whatever.
It's Jakob,
Fine,
not
B+.
Jacob. That's fair.
Just
All right.
A. No A+, just an A.
Okay.
No, he complained, so I dropped him down to a B+. So
Strict.
Okay, but for these Bulls, they have some spots that they could fill, and if Butler's gone, this could be a really nice fit for them. But some other guys that we threw around were Demetrius Jackson out of Notre Dame, the point guard. So a little Derrick Rose insurance there. And I personally thought a little Denzel Valentine there too. But what do you guys think about Luwawu?
There are a lot of things that the Bulls could do. We do not ever claim to know about the Bulls. And I definitely don't watch.
Nope.
Out of all the Eastern Conference teams, that I watch, the Bulls aren't one of them. Ask me about the Bucks. Ask me about the Hornets a little bit. Ask me about a couple other teams. I know those. I watch those. I don't watch the Bulls. I think that even if Butler's gone, Luwawu can fit the need he can play small forward, he can play shooting guard, he can play either one. So he could play alongside Butler. If you wanted to go with a Demetrius Jackson, he could have him as a backup point guard. I don't think the Bulls have anyone else. And if you think Demetrius Jackson will be able to take over because Derrick Rose is going to be considered he's an expiring next year, isn't he? He only has 1 more year or 2 more years, right?
I think so.
Yeah. So he'll be that. So if they want to trade him, they can to someone like the Nets. Who knows? If Ellenson, for whatever reason, drops, I think they would be really happy with him. Power forward that moves really slow, and that seems to be the MO for the Bulls half the time. But who knows? So, I don't know what they do. I wouldn't mind Denzel Valentine there. He has some injury issues, but who knows? Who knows? I'm just going to go roundabout way of saying who knows.
Right. I'll have a more straightforward way of saying who knows. I don't know anything about this guy, and I don't know anything about the Bulls. So I have no idea what they'll do. And their team is so interesting because they were perennial playoff caliber every year for so long, and then they just fell apart. Derrick Rose is nothing like what he used to be, and he had all those issues last year. He has issues every year, basically. And then Jimmy Butler, talks to him being traded, and Joakim Noah, the talks of him being traded.
He
experimented
expired
with him coming off the bench.
I think he's a free agent.
Okay, well, that's just another
because
their core
him
is,
and Powell are both free agents.
Okay, their core is dissolving.
Yeah, sadly, the Bulls I have no idea what's going on with the Bulls. It seems like with Gasol and Noah and Gibson, do they need a big? Can never really tell.
Right.
All right, that does it for our mock draft. So let's end the show like we always do. It's time for David's Comic Book Corner and Mitch's Face Melter Metal Mayhem Monday.
I still love that.
I need something that comes off the tongue a little better.
I like it, though. I really like it.
That's fair. I'll keep it going.
Could
for
just
now.
be Metal Monday.
So, David, that's weak. That's weak sauce.
I like Face Melter.
I mean, Mitch's Metal Monday is like alliteration, and that means that I can't say it over and over again. So,
David, just talk about your comic books and let's wrap this thing up.
Yeah, I need to take a nap. Anyways, so comic that I'm going to talk about is a Grant Morrison run on the Flash. I talked about Flash kind of stuff a couple weeks ago, but this is the volume 1 of Grant Morrison's Flash. It introduces the Black Racer, which is kind of like a speedster. There are a bunch of different Flashes, all that kind of stuff, and this one is basically like the Grim Reaper of speedsters. So it's kind of cool and a lot of fun. So that's what I'm reading. I'm actually in the middle of it right now, so check it out. It's a lot of fun.
That sounds interesting.
Not as good as Vision, though, so go check out Vision again.
Oh, yes. That one actually did sound really cool. Okay, my album this week is The Curse by Atreyu. Came out in 2004, so a bit of a throwback. I didn't realize it was that old. It's my favorite album by Atreyu by far. Favorite tracks include the 3 songs that were released as singles: Bleeding Mascara, Right Side of the Bed, and The Crimson. Sorry, I almost said The Curse. That's the name of the album, though. And then along with that, I like Nevada's Grace and 5 Vicodin Chased with a Shot of Clarity. Those are my favorite tracks. Pretty classic metalcore stuff, so check it out.
All right, and I'll be honest here, since we recorded the last podcast, I really haven't done anything cool, so I'm here to talk about Filberto's breakfast burritos. These things are monstrous. David's shaking his head because he doesn't like Filberto's, but I mean, it's 24/7 drive-through Mexican, near restaurant quality Mexican food, I might add. But these breakfast burritos are huge. I prefer the egg and bacon with the red salsa. So check one of those out.
Or don't.
It sounds good to me.
It's giant. It's a giant breakfast burrito with eggs and bacon. How can you be mad about that? That's my main plug here, David.
That's true. I love breakfast burritos. I'll leave it alone.
Okay.
I'll leave it alone. But to be fair,
all right.
Fair, you didn't have as much of a plug because we're recording on a Wednesday compared to when we normally record. So
yeah, normally I have at least 3 more days to do something cool before I talk about my plug, but a little tough this week.
Breakfast burrito is cool.
I am a fan of burritos of all sorts. All right, David, we can discuss this more later.
The rivalry will continue.
Let's just end. Let's just end things right here.
I'm done with this. Flip the table. I'm out.
Perfect. All right. Be sure to check us out on social media. Follow us on Twitter under the handle @SunnyandPHXPod. Find us on Facebook under the name Phoenix Suns Multiple Sources. Hit us up through email with questions or suggestions at sunnyandphxpod@gmail.com. Head over to our website at multiplesources.net/Phoenix Suns and the entire Multiple Sources blog and podcast network. The draft is this Thursday night, and we are all pretty excited to see who the Suns will pick up. Check back for another podcast after the draft to see what we think of our new picks. Thanks for listening, and go Suns.